Hello, and welcome to Champion Your Culture, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of leadership and organizational culture. I'm Ryan McCarty.
And I'm George Rogers. Together, we're here to guide you on a journey of personal and professional growth. Every week, we bring you insights, stories, and strategies to help you and your company thrive in today's dynamic world.
So whether you're leading a team, running a business, or just eager to make a positive impact, you are in the right place. Let's jump right into today's show and champion a culture of purpose and passion. Welcome to Champion Your Culture.
What up?
What's happening?
You remember those commercials back in the day? What up?
Yeah, it was something that I couldn't stop doing for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I was at that age, man. Yeah. It was like anytime anyone called me, I was always like, what is that? And then the other person start laughing. Yeah. And then 90% of people have no idea what we're talking about.
That is true. Welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen, to Champion Your Culture, the podcast with Ryan McCarty, myself, George Rogers. We're excited about being here. Always powered by Culture of Good, and we're excited. Speaking of Culture of Good, June 25th, 26th.
Yes.
Ryan, what's going on June 25th, 26th that the people should know about?
We have our Culture Champion certification. It's a cohorts 2-day workshop that's available for those that champion culture in the business. You want to plan, you want some strategies around how to champion culture in a way that people are engaged and it grows the business as it grows the culture. This 2-day certification is the thing.
Yeah. And so if you have listened to last week's podcast, we talked a lot about the calls.
Yeah.
And the power and the inspiration, motivation, and the engagement that comes from your employees. It connects to stakeholders.
Yeah.
And what it can do. If you listen to that podcast, and today we're going to continue some conversations on the power of becoming a certified culture champion, and what that does to your organization, the impact that it can make. And listen, anything that you do is a risk. Anything that takes an investment, whether it's monetary, whether it's physical, mentally, emotionally, whatever that investment is, everybody wants to know, what do I get from it?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that you can get from it. There's also some risks you can get from it by not protecting yourself. By becoming certified, you like I did it. Protect yourself before you wreck yourself. The songs are coming in, ladies and gentlemen, as you know it. I'm feeling good today, man.
Are you? Well, you're talking about risk, and I took a risk a little bit ago. I had a big coffee, and
should I not drink this right now while you're saying this?
No, just do whatever you got to do. I would imagine you're not gonna F it up as bad as I did. I had a mouth full of coffee, all right, and I was waiting on somebody that came around the corner down the hallway, and I don't know why. If I wanted to say something, but I forgot that my mouth was full of coffee because I wanted them to know where I was at. They just came around the corner. I was going to say something. In that moment, I lost control of my mouth, and all the coffee that was in my mouth came spraying out. hit the face of the cup and splattered all back into my face, all down my shirt, all over the floor. Yeah. Anyway.
So you showered yourself with coffee.
Yeah. I smell like coffee.
That explains why you smell like coffee.
Coffee. That's my new cologne.
Yeah.
Coffee et la toilette. which is how my morning's probably going to end after drinking as much coffee as I did.
Yeah. So that explains why you have your water over there. I like the way we switched. Last week I was on the water kick. I was trying to flush my system and everything.
Yeah.
From
I've already done that.
I've already done that.
Yeah, well, I flushed it.
You overflushed.
Yeah. That's the flush.
Yeah. That's how you do it there. So that's always great. We talk about the certification. I want to just mention this as well. We're just going to throw out some more announcements. The impact that becoming a certified champion. I'm thinking about a lot of our champions that are out there doing good today. That's doing wonderful things in their community, in their workplace. The impact that it's making on their retention efforts, and the impact that it's making on it's beyond engagement, right?
Yeah,
they're saying, how do we stay engaged, re-engage? Up that level of engagement.
Yeah.
Now we're in fulfillment. How do we keep ourselves fulfilled? So there's like levels to this.
Yeah.
And hearing their testimonials is a reminder of why we do what we do.
Yeah.
And our purpose behind that. But also here in about a month or so, we're going to be announcing our first awards.
Yeah.
You want to
So
talk about
Culture
that,
Good Awards
that
is
launch?
launching this year. And so we have the initial phase of winners are going to be announced in July. Really excited about companies that we're highlighting. Some of those sent a culture champion to our 2-day certification, and they're certified. And so they went back into their business and they began building a business model of giving back and doing good and engaging people around that cause. And because of that, now they're receiving the first inaugural Culture Good Award, which is really an amazing award. There's all kinds of awards out there for businesses, great places to work, best places to work.
Yeah.
We're saying, like, let's focus solely on the community good that these companies are doing. And we've shared our story. We've written a book about it, The Culture of Good, TCC, how it launched, how it grew, how now we're providing these services and workshopping, internally in companies and helping them build a culture of good. But what we found is, throughout the course of this year, this desire kept building in us to not just tell our story, because we've been doing that for 10 years, but what about these other stories? What about other businesses that are out there doing good and they're intentional about it? The leadership cares about it. The employees are engaged with it. That's a company that has a cause that they care about, and the people are passionate and engaged, and it's become a force for good, a reason for them to be motivated and engaged at work. We're going to highlight those companies over the course of this year. And so we're going to make some announcements in July of some initial winners. And then October, November, toward the end of the year, be listening and watching for this. If your company is a company that cares about doing good, you have leadership that's actively involved and engaging their teams with the good happening in the community, the Culture Good Awards is something that you want to be aware of, because it's an award that you want your company to have. If I'm going to go work for a company, do business with a company, as we talked about last week, I want to know that they have a heart.
Yeah.
And so the icon of the Culture Good and the awards that we have, and how that can be a shared icon on websites and in recruiting efforts and materials that go out to customers. People need to know that your business has a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You're not just in the business for profitability and to make money. You're also intentional about making a difference and making an impact. And that's what we want to share, those stories. So Culture Good Awards is coming up. We're real excited though, because it's something that we realize is a major opportunity for us as storytellers to be able to tell other people's stories.
Yeah. So we're excited about that. And everything else that is coming along with it. And I'm excited about, some of these companies that have been doing great. It's been a great process with our team. Shout out to the marketing team around Room and TCC.
Ryan Maynard
and Don, and they got a half a dozen plus people that's been working alongside of the Culture Good team, and has done an incredible job. So I'm excited about that, and we appreciate them as well. Getting into this certification and breaking this down, we do want people to join. So there's going to be some teasers, but just want to kind of enlighten people the power of becoming a certified champion, and how equipping your leaders, right? That champion or champions. We've seen a lot of companies benefit from having multiple champions and come through the certification, through some of this interactive workshops. And it's not just like any other workshop. You leave not just with a workbook, you leave with a playbook that we help design with you one-on-one in this group, to help you really go back and beyond participation of a workshop, go back to your place and really empower your employees. When we talk about, hey, how do we stay engaged? How do we get engaged? Created around that cause. And so it's really, I like to say positive change that happens in the company, but it's really the foundation of who you become behind that cause and that impact. And one of the things that we want to talk about today is some of those principles and benefits, and also risks that it takes to become a certified champion and really bring your company to that place of a culture of good.
Well, and the risk isn't of becoming a culture champion. It's what's the risk if you don't. So what's the risk if a company doesn't have a cause? Well, the risk is that there's not a shared purpose. Okay. If there's not a shared purpose, then the business becomes fragmented.
Right.
The risk is if you want a fragmented business where people aren't engaged with each other and aren't connected, then don't have a cause, because a cause is going to galvanize the workforce. It's a reason for people to connect. I was just talking to Dan LeBlanc, shout out to him at TCC. What he does every day is different than what I do every day. But when I look at Dan across the hallway, I know that he and I have shared purpose.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? We're both working toward the same thing. We're doing something different.
Yeah.
What a cause does is it gives us that sense of commonality. It gives us a sense of community. It's something that you can build a culture around. It's something that you can say, hey, this is why you should be engaged. The problem is not so much just in the idea of having a cause, because I think a lot of companies have a mission statement, or they have good that they want people to be involved and engaged with, excuse me. But the reason we start
coffee coming back up,
I don't know what it is, brother, but it's gurgling, homie. The thing that is missing in all of our culture work is a plan to implement.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we did the 2-day certification. Rather than culture of good being the consultants that tell you how to do something from a distance, we want to empower whoever in your business has been given the charge of culture and people, because that's the change agent that needs the plan and strategy to implement.
Yeah.
What we found a lot of times and early on when we began this is me or you going in doing the work with them, but the value of having someone internally that's trusted, someone that has those relationships and has the heart to do this work, but just doesn't have a plan to implement. What we want to do is we want to come alongside the champion and champion them.
Right.
So the 2-day certification really gives the culture champion that you have in your business, your agent for change, that person that really carries the weight and responsibility and kind of owns the culture in a sense. And obviously we know that one person can't own the culture, but that's what happens in a lot of companies. They're told, okay, George, you're in HR. You have a heart for people, don't you? We're going to put you over culture. Yeah. And it's like, okay, great. And then what do? You go on Google and search like, what do I do now? you know? So the 2-day certification takes all the guesswork out. It's exactly what you said. There's a playbook that's built. There's a tailored process that's based on the objectives and goals of your business and how you want to engage. And then what we want to say is we want to take all of those pieces, the culture champion, the cause, the strategy, the plan, the goals and objectives of the business, the strategic intent of the business, and we want to align all of that. And so what we do over those 2 days is we look for points of alignment. And then to your point, leaving the workshop, you don't just leave with like, oh, that felt good, I'm inspired. But you actually leave with something that you can implement. It's in the implementations where the power's at. The power's in the implementation. If you can't implement, then there's no way of seeing any kind of progress in this way.
Yeah. So really the principle then behind that is aligning employees, passions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even customers. We talked about this last week.
All the stakeholders.
That expectation with the company's mission and being able to elevate that behind that cause on what we're doing. And so what we see there and what I really love about it, especially for companies, and we talk a lot about engagement and how to be engaged. And for us, it's simple: find a cause. What's something that we can together be engaged with? Beyond what we're doing, because every department is different. I think about, hey, how do we keep IT engaged with sales? Two different worlds, right? Two different passions. One's going to be talking and very passionate about it. Now there are some IT guys that love to talk, but typically the talk is behind. We're nerdy, geeky guys or women that are passionate about something that's totally different than sales on the back end. But having that strategic alignment with their cause is an engagement of a different level. it goes beyond what we're doing. We're saying, hey, create something that's beyond what you're doing that keeps people engaged. And I think about some of those risks, and you talk about the risks, but I think about some of the what I call it's a disadvantage if you don't do it, right? You get disengaged employees. They don't have a sense of purpose or why. They don't have a need to say, hey, why do I need to know Charlie that's in this department? It has nothing to do with how it affects me, but yet our core value says that we're going to drive the business.
Yeah.
Right. For us, we call them 5 promises. And so how does that cause engage with our core values, even your company's mission? These things become an alignment with one to where it's like, hey, George, we're going to drive the business. What does that mean? My sales department is going to drive the business and do what we do. Your IT department is going to do what you do. And why are we doing this? We're doing it because of X, Y, Z. This cause that's bringing us together, and being able to see one of the things that from a testimonial, I think about Todd, another guy that was just a worker in a manufacturing building, had no desire, no connection with anything outside of showing up to work, miserable, and cannot wait until 2:00 when he was clocking out. To now he's very passionate. He's showing up early. Right. Performance matters to him now. Before it was just check the box. And so we talk about this impact of becoming certified and how it engages your employees. We're saying it's not only engagement, it's not only a retention. The other factor is the performance factor. When there's a call center around it, I want to do what's best, not just for myself because of my name. My name means the most. But there's somebody that I don't know that I know this cause is going to impact. Right. This impact that it's going to have on a community where your cause is for a local school, or whether it's for homelessness, whatever it may be, that becomes your cause within your workplace and your community. Or maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe it's worldwide. We've seen what it's done with TCC, where it starts in one place and now 43 plus states, right? Over 1 million book bags given out on top of other things that has been done. $1.7 or so million last August donated to local,
I love what they do with the
Indiana.
Phones that they give.
More than a phones. Julie Moorhead is doing an incredible job with her team. It's become more than just one thing. It literally spreads. And that performance internally and externally goes through the roof. And so that's another thing that I love about it. And I want to encourage people, when it talks about engagement, when you have true employee engagement, it not only impacts your retention, it also impacts your performance.
Well, think about retention in that term, right? So like when we think about Wiley Metal going from 230% turnover to 10 or less percent, which is an astronomical difference. What the cause of that impacts performance in a very practical way, where if I don't have to have a new team member every 2 weeks that I'm having to train, I can focus on my work because I know, George, you're going to be there 2 weeks from now, potentially, not all the time. It's not that there's zero turnover.
Right.
And so what we know is that if retention increases, performance is a byproduct of that. Right. But the way that retention increases is through having effective, engaged employees that care. The only way that they're going to care is if leadership cares. You know, when we talk to a company and we say, we've got this 2-day certification, and they say, well, it's just not good time for us. I'm like, well, when is it going to be a good time for you to focus on your culture?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We have a strategy for our finance strategy. We have a staffing strategy. We have operationalize strategies, IT strategies, sales strategies, marketing strategies. You go down the line and then you say, what's your culture strategy? Yeah. It's like crickets. Yeah. And it's like, okay.
Then we wonder why engagement's bad.
Well, that's the thing. We're not putting the same kind of effort and the same kind of intentionality around it. And we always say you can build your culture by choice or by chance. You build your culture by chance, who knows what you're going to get. When you build it by choice, you say, what kind of company do we want to be? What do we want to be known for? What kind of impact can we have? What do we do in business already that can translate to good in the world? Right. So when we think about More Than a Phone with Julie Moorhead and the team that's leading that, and Courtney, great team. a part of more than a phone. They're providing phones at domestic abuse shelters or for survivors of domestic abuse, so that they have access to a phone. They have access to be able to like apply for jobs. They have access to be able to reach out for resources and help.
Yeah.
So they have this phone. They have minutes that are provided to them. They have, the full experience of having that phone because of more than a phone. It
Yeah.
makes sense to what the business does. TCC is in the phone business. So giving back and doing good in that way makes an impact. So what we're looking at is that alignment. We're looking for the alignment. As you said, the employees, are they going to be passionate about this? That means you might be passionate as a CEO of a company about rainforests in the Amazon. But if 99% of your employees could give two shits about the rainforest, they would probably give more care and concern about kids in their own community, right? Because they might have been one of those kids, or the schools in their community, or kids in the hospital, or teachers, right? Veterans. We're thinking about what is it that the homeless, as you mentioned, we're thinking about what is it that can align with a general shared passion of everyone collectively together, and defining that cause that aligns the passion of employees and customers to the work and the impact that the company determines to make.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that there's alignment through that. So over the 2 days with the certification, that's what we're helping to build. We're saying, what are your values? What's your mission? What's your vision? And then we go through a workshop called Find Your Cause, and we help each attendee over the 2 days define their cause and find it. It's called the Find Your Cause workshop. It's literally a workshop where you find the cause of your business.
Yeah.
So powerful. And then you're able then to build a framework that people can engage with. When you go back into the workplace, you can begin to implement the planning toward, if this is our cause statement, if this is our real mission as a business, if this is the soul and purpose of why we're in business in the first place, beyond making money. And we're talking, a cause is the beyond making money. Will it make you more money? Absolutely, because of performance and engagement, less turnover. Sure. But beyond the money lives the cause, lives the purpose. And that's what we're wanting. We're wanting that shared purpose, and to really find ways of aligning what you do already. This is transformative. But what we don't do is say, okay, you need to change everything about your culture to have a culture of good. Your culture of good looks different than anyone's culture of good.
Right.
It's got to be good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's alignment's the key in all of that.
And part of that alignment, then let's talk about the soft stuff, because I think when it comes to this alignment, when we talk about this cause, what I think about it and explain it to others is showing that you care for something more than just the profit.
And to me, that's not the soft stuff.
Yeah,
but
it's not for us, but
soft,
there's some people that say, man, this leadership thing is not about empathy. It's about getting your damn job done. Right. And what I'm saying is, how do you then operationalize empathy and have that on display where your leadership team is leading through empathy and with empathy, integrating that into the business and operational that creates that synergy between what most people love in business is the profitability, right? But balancing that with the social impact. How do we create a business model that creates profit, aligning with a cause to where we're making an impact within our community?
I mean, the answer that's long.
And then because it benefits both the organization and the community. And we talk about, the benefit of that. I think about it from this standpoint. I know you may go a different way, and I think there's a balance, but I think about a leader in my life that led me through grace and trust and through empathy, very empathetic leader that cared. Tough. And I'm not saying you can't be tough and disciplined,
sure.
because it was there, but understanding when there is a time to lead through empathy, and empathy through driven leadership, and how that enhances that connection with employees, showing that you care. beyond
Yeah.
just what they do. Like
Well, I mean,
showing
when's the
up
last
for
time you
them.
connected with someone who showed they didn't care about you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the idea, right? I think the only way to lead is through empathy, because other than leadership through empathy, you're really just managing people, which never really works out well, right? Because you're constantly in a transactional mode of, I need you to do this for me. And if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. You know, we talk about that all the time. This is the concept of the 2-day certification, and what we do at Culture Good is very transformational. So rather than it being, do this for me and I'll do this for you, give me these, 40 hours, I'll give you a paycheck. Do this extra work, I'll give you a bonus. I'll give you this. It's transformational in the fact that when we lead, we're not just considering what we need. Management considers the immediate need that has to get done in order to get the project done in order to be successful. Problem is, if you're just managing, you're leading in a way that focuses on the project, sometimes at the expense of the people. And so when you lead with empathy, you lead with a sense of like, what does my team need right now? Am I aware of what's going on with their needs?
Yeah.
Am I aware of their passions? Right. That's why when you talk about aligning the organizational intent of the business to the passions of the employees and customers and all the stakeholders, what we're doing is we're creating a synergy between that profitability and the social impact that we can have.
Yeah.
And it's leaders that care that we're going to see over the next, I believe, over the next just 3 to 5 years,
Mhm.
that are going to define business success and failure. Because there's, it and I know it, that the desire to work within a business where the leadership is engaged themselves determines whether I'm going to be.
Yeah.
If you want me to care, you got to show that you care first.
Yeah.
I ain't going to care about something you don't care about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to care about my team members when you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to care about the community if the business doesn't. Not in the same way. But if I come to work every day, I spend 8 hours of my day at work. That's a third of my day. There's another 8 hours that I'm potentially sleeping. And then there's the 8 hours where I'm getting all my other stuff done.
Yeah.
But an entire third of my day is taken up with work. Why not create opportunities and environments? And that's what we do in the 2-day certification, is you learn how to create those environments and experiences that people want to be involved in. They want to grow and be a part of. They want to participate in it. They want to contribute because they know it's meaningful. If all you have is a sign up sheet and like, hey, we're going to go down to this event and march for cancer, that might get a few people excited to get involved and volunteer. But what we're talking about here is a cultural movement, a cause that becomes the overall force of good for the entire business. And in order to have that type of cause, we have to have a culture that supports it, and we have to have a champion that champions it.
Yeah.
If you don't have a culture that's built to support that cause, and you don't have a champion internally, then it fizzles out.
Yeah.
It just will. You just become another company that has some sign-up sheets. But if you want to be a company that drives engagement and commitment and a sense of ownership and a sense of passion from people, you got to do passionate things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to do stuff that's passionate.
Yeah. And so, for me, then we're saying this is not something then that the CEOs just saying, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
We're saying collectively.
The CEO might have to say, we're doing this.
Yes. The CEO has to have that. Like you got
what you said is like, we're determined this is what we're doing.
Yep.
And I'm going to support it both in my presence and with my mouth.
Right.
Vocally, I'm going to keep on this. Scott had to do it year over year over year. Just continue to say, no, culture good is what we're building.
Right.
And now you see it's just like part of the everyday. It's operationalized.
Yeah.
Every meeting, every huddle, when decisions are being made, they're considering these promises that the culture of good has made, and they've made because of it.
Yeah.
And that right there changes everything. Man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's cool.
Perfect-ish.
It's perfect-ish.
Perfect-ish. And so you lead from there. So we talking about empathetic leadership, and the power. Again, this all is kind of that domino effect, the power of an empathetic leader, how it improves engagement, how it improves belonging.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big one.
When somebody shows up for me, and think about this, when at Lighthouse Research Advisor, when we did a recent research on the culture, and we talked about, what makes it a great place to work, what makes it a place where people feel like to belong. The psychological definition is they feel respected, accepted, and appreciated by their direct leader.
Mm-hmm.
A leader that cares and shows up, that leads through empathy. Employees with high belonging scores, where they had that accepted, respect, and appreciation from the direct leader, are 5 times more likely to say this is a great place to work.
Yeah.
5 times.
Yeah.
Right. Versus those who are disconnected, don't feel appreciated.
Sure.
Hey, you may respect me, but you don't appreciate me. You respect my gifts,
so
but you don't.
Like, yeah,
right?
of course.
Of course, it makes sense.
But how do you implement?
How do you implement those things and get to that process? Really starts with then leading yourself. It starts with you as a leader.
Yeah.
Right. Because we've all worked for and or had
a
boss that didn't care. Is it possible that they can care? Sure.
Absolutely.
Empathy is something that you can have and grow into. I've had, and I've seen videos of myself not being very empathetic towards people. I'm like, just a moment. I had a moment. Sorry to that kid in Ann Arbor, Genius Phone Repair.
But that's the idea, right? Is like it has to, and you have to be intentional about it consistently.
Yeah.
Consistency produces consistent results, consistent action. So when we're consistent, that's why having a plan matters, because if you don't have a cultural strategy and a plan, and then a champion to champion that plan and lead it forward and be that agent of change, then the culture can get off course, but you don't know.
Right.
How do you know that the culture that you're building is the culture that you began building in the first place? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's going to change and evolve, but in terms of having a sense of the direction that we're headed as a business, we're moving in the direction of impact, and we're going to learn and experiment with this, and we're going to grow, and we're going to experience more and more impact as we continue to do this work. But the 2-day certification is a great place to start, because it does start with self-leadership. It starts with making commitment yourself and saying, this matters to me.
Yeah.
But then how do you gain buy-in from leadership, from the CEO, from owners, from the board, potentially? How do you align the foundation work that you have? You might have a give back foundation, family foundation, that's part of your company. How does that align with the good that you're doing, right? How do you align the everyday activities of employees to lead into these events that give back and do good, so that they're expecting it? It's not a surprise. It's not a sign-up sheet that they just found out about and have 2 weeks to sign up for. There's months of planning, and everybody collectively has been doing it, and it's part of our work.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, we can't take people away from their work to do. No, it's part of the work. It's part of what we should be all doing together collectively, is building this culture as a shared experience. But the 2-day certification is a great place to start within a business that says, okay, we've got someone, or maybe you are that someone, that was tasked with leading culture, leading people, building or growing engagement within the business, community impact and outreach. If that's part of what you've been tasked with, these are the people showing up to the 2-day certification. And what they're saying is, thank you for this, because it clarified a lot, it aligned a lot for me, and it gave me a plan I can go back into my business and actually follow. Because if I don't have a plan to follow, I'm not a leader.
Yeah.
What am I doing? A leader without a plan is someone taking a walk.
Yeah.
It might have some people walking behind them, but ain't leading nothing.
Right.
And so having a plan takes the guesswork out of your everyday work, and saying, what should I be doing this week to build engagement with leaders? What should I be doing this? Who needs to know what, when? And one of the things that's really powerful in terms of how we lead this purpose forward and transformation is there's change.
Yeah.
And so the principles that you learn in the 2-day certification are all change management principles. So OCM, organizational change, not just leading this as a project or a program, but leading the people. Who needs to know what, when, how are we building desire, knowledge around this? So all of those principles are taught over those 2 days. So you're getting a lot of tools in your tool belt, not just to lead the culture of good, but to lead in general.
Yeah.
To be a leader with empathy, to know how to lead with empathy, but also lead with a plan so that we're actually going somewhere.
Yeah. I love that you said leading with purpose.
Yeah.
That then takes that's the switch of transactional to transformative.
Yeah.
Right. Change that you're discussing. So as you look at this big picture and all these things are kind of flowing together, we talked about the calls, we talked about leading with empathy, we talked about leading with a purpose and how that really transforms a lot of those things and the change and the impact, the ADKAR principles that we use that really can be used across every level of your business. Any change, ADKAR.
Yeah.
Right. Tap it with ADKAR, drive that awareness, make people, and be able to do that. I love the purposeful leadership because it's a reminder of why we're doing what we're doing and how it really innovates the thinking for not just the leadership, but for the employees.
Yeah.
I love it from this standpoint is that you can take somebody who has no desire to lead and they realize, man, I really have a desire to lead.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody who just was showing up to just do work. Again, Todd and Tim, a couple of guys that are part of the champions from our last cohort, they've been a part of doing good in their community.
Yeah.
And it was there, the light switch that comes on 30 days after they attend the cohort and they're saying, man, I want to do more.
Yeah.
I need more development. Right. It's that purpose. They found something that's beyond just them. They found something that connects them with the cause, but even beyond it, when we talk about the domino effect of what is the domino effect of having a cause, I think about those two guys that were like another employee on the front line.
Yeah.
That had no sense of direction just in life in general, per their testimonial.
Yeah.
So now they not only have a sense of purpose at work, their purpose then bleeds into their family. They're more than just what they thought they were. They're more than just their past and their history and the chances that they may have messed up. They realize that they have another chance. They can make a difference and then share their story.
Yeah.
To where, the cause of the company created a cause within their own personal life.
Yeah.
That's the transformation change that I really like, because when we talk about the risk of the lack of purpose, when we talk about the risk of not engaging with your employees or creating these causes, or the risk of not having a culture of good, however you want to name it or claim it within your organization, some of the risk I think about is that you have the impact and the power as a leader to change a life. And it's not just monetary, giving them a check every other week, but changing their life where you invest in them. Invest, just like we're saying, investing in your community. It's beyond just writing a check.
Yeah.
We're saying what happens when you take the check and you put it with you in your hands and you put it to work. That check's great, but what happens if you get your hands dirty with those people?
Yeah. Give the check.
They serve me. I want to go do business with them. Whatever it is that your company does, imagine being boots on the ground and serving your community
rather than
just writing the check. It's that impact, and I see it in those lives, and those people mean the most to me because they now have a clear sense of purpose beyond just a job and work. It goes outside of them, the changes that happens in their lifestyle with their family. Man, it's such a beautiful domino effect of, man, we really inspected what we expected, and it went to a different level.
Well, I think when we think about the impact that it has, not just on the employee, but on the customer, on the vendor, on all the stakeholders, but also to your point, like the employee's family.
Yeah.
When you have a purpose-driven work experience, it's easier to have a purpose-driven life.
Yeah.
It's easier to have a sense of meaning and purpose where I go to work every day affords me the permission to care and to give back and to do good. There's a lot of employees that we've heard from that say, before the culture of good, I really wasn't involved in doing good and giving back. But now that I'm I'm a part of this movement. And that's really what it is. It's a movement in your business.
Yeah.
But every movement, again, for it to be not just a great plan, but what is the sustainability? So one of the things over the 2-day certification isn't just alignment for the sake of alignment. It's for the sake of stability and the ongoing work that needs to happen so that it's sustainable.
Yeah.
We don't want to just start something new and call it a cultural movement, and then 3 months from now, we're not actively engaged with it anymore as a business. That becomes the culture of good, or whatever culture effort you have becomes just the flavor of the month. And we're always, inundated as a workforce with new ideas. The CEO goes to a conference and comes back with a book, and then they want to change up how they operationalize the business. And there's all this change that happens just in the nature of working together with other people. It's just now with the 2-day certification is how, as we're doing that, how do we do this together?
Yeah.
How do we do this as a community? How do we join together and not just as a company align our vision, values, mission, but how do we align together?
Mm-hmm.
Your values, my values may not be exactly the same, but at the end of the day, when we talk, we'll find out we have shared values.
Yeah.
And that happens because we're doing good. We're impacting others. We're being intentional about getting involved because we know, hey, my team is counting on me. I want to get involved in this. And so, yeah, how do we sustain the culture work and not just implementing it as a launch? Yeah. Right. So what's the launch sequence, and how do you gain buy-in, and who do you need to meet with when? And all of those things are questions that you might have as you're listening to this podcast. You're like, I'm all a little bit confused about the whole culture thing and about how to build a good one and a healthy one, a purpose-driven one. Again, the 2-day certification on June 25th and 26th, we take the guesswork out of it. But we also say, hey, what is going to work for your business?
Yeah.
Because what works for your business isn't going to work for the business down the street. It's different business, right? And so we want to find out your passion, what your core competency is as a company, and then learn more about your business, and then really help you have a plan, go back home after the 2 days with a plan that you can implement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sustainable. That's the key, right?
Yes,
the key is not just having something that you don't want a bunch of fireworks going off.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, ooh, that's so pretty.
What is it for?
And then all the ash just starts landing on your head. Have you ever done that? Have you ever been to a fireworks display
downtown,
and it blows and it just lands on you?
Depending on where you are downtown, you can get that.
That's what some of the culture efforts feel like a big show, but then you're just left with ash on you.
Yeah.
What we're saying is like,
and a mess to clean up.
The culture work that we do is really a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
And we honor that process through change management principles, and we empower the champion to say, all right, what's the next step? Yeah. What am I doing this week? What am I doing next month? And we have that playbook that you follow, and that really helps to align everything together and give you a scope of like, okay, this is what we're all working toward.
Yeah.
And helping others to identify what that is and to be a part of it. So it's having that clear sense of purpose. And when you don't have that, the business leads to fragmentation, eventually leads to stagnation. It's just stagnates.
Well, we can wrap it up with that when we talk about the three things that we kind of pinpointed today: strategic alignment for engagement, operationalize and empathy for sustainable impact, leading with purpose for transformative change. When we collectively, and I want our audience, as you're listening or watching, I want you to think about your company's culture and your employee engagement as it is today. How are your employees feeling? How are they, what are they believing? How are they behaving? I heard somebody say culture is what you tolerate, right?
Yeah, it'll eventually become that. Yeah, for sure.
The actions, some people say it's just what we do, right? You're tolerating whatever it is that you're doing. When I think about those things, I want you to think about the risk of not having a strategic alignment for engagement, not having anything to do with leadership and leading through empathy, not having your company organization leading with purpose, not having any calls within your organization. What are some of those risks? And my thought would be some of the risk you will have will be some of the things that we've heard in the past, some things that we mentioned today. where there's a lack of direction, performance is diminishing, turnover rates are high. There's a dispassionate workforce where people are not passionate about anything that they're doing. Low morale, and a disconnect between employees and leaders, where employees are leading each other and are leading against leadership.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about that, how employees will get together and become their own,
start a coup
movement, coup against the leader, right? And so we talk about all those things, not having a clear sense of purpose. I think about if there's no clear sense of purpose, it's like running to the same wall expecting the door to answer. There's no door there, right? And so but when you have those things aligned, when you have a cause, you have a sense of purpose, you're leading with empathy, the beautiful things that can come out of that, right? And so I think as you think about the risk that your company has, if you don't have a culture strategy and alignment for that, is it worth it? And the right time to change it, the right time to enhance it and impact it, it's not next week or next quarter when your budget's there. I think the right time is now, because tomorrow's never promised.
Yeah. Well, and again, like, you know, this impacts your bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're thinking about a financial strategy, if culture building and efforts aren't a part of your financial strategy, then there's a lack of alignment, right? It also impacts, you know, your staffing strategy, right? Like part of your culture and cause in terms of recruitment and who do we need and why do we need them, and are they a part of this culture and why are they a part of it? Do they fit into this culture? Do they enhance the, like all of it impacts culture, and culture impacts everything. And I'm excited for the 2 days because it's not only enlightening to understand these things, it's empowering to have a plan to follow and to implement. And that's why I keep going back to that, because it's all in the implementation. And we can give you the 2 days and the certification, and if you don't actually take action on it, it's, you know, again, like everything else, I think 75% of Americans own running shoes.
Yeah.
Because so many actually run.
Under 25.
Yeah, probably. Or less.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the idea, right? Is like a basketball doesn't shoot itself.
Yeah.
A culture doesn't grow itself. You have to grow it intentionally. And if you don't, to your point, it'll grow with other intentions.
Yeah.
And then you end up with a mess. And that's where you get into a lot of toxic culture, because if leadership isn't aligned with the organizational culture and the business and the cause and the passions of people, then that's where the breakdown comes in.
Yeah.
So again, we can't stress this enough. If you have been charged with culture, with people, with engagement, with community good and outreach and engagement and impact, all of that is why we started the 2-day certification. If that's you, we still have some early bird pricing over the next, well, today's, I'm not sure if we have any more.
Well, let's do this. It's June 10th.
Yeah.
So if you listen to this podcast, you have to mention this podcast, and this episode will do $250 off.
Yeah.
So it'd be back down to $2,000.
Sounds good.
And we'll do that. You got 72 hours.
Yeah, reach out to us.
Reach out.
If you reach out to us and mention that you heard about the discount, we'll for sure be able to get that to you. So it would just be $2,000 for you to come over those 2 days, and also receive an ongoing strategy and plan and access to tools, something that we didn't mention. A lot of the tools that we use are meant to be implemented as part of building a culture of good. And those tools are everything from gaining buy-in from your leaders, who are your stakeholder groups, who are your employees, right? So we have stakeholder profile, charting, and all the tools that we have, you'll have access to that as an ongoing thing. And then obviously be a part of a community and network with other people that care about the good that they do and the community impact that their company has. We would love to see you on June 25th and 26th. So reach out to us. Time is short. Seats are limited. We want to be able also, for those that come, for it to be intimate enough where we're working on your stuff, not having a group of 50 people that is just all
Can't touch everybody.
scattered. Yeah. Can't touch this.
No. Well, my friend, it's been good. Thank everybody for listening to today here at Champion Your Culture podcast, powered by Culture Good. I'm excited about it. Excited about seeing you champion your purpose and your culture at your workplace.
Yeah. And as always, we'll see you back next week on Champion Your Culture. Thank you for tuning in to Champion Your Culture. We hope today's episode has sparked new ideas and inspiration for your journey in leadership and cultural development.
Building a culture good is a collective effort. If you found value in conversations today, please subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on your favorite platform and share this episode with your friends and colleagues.
Your support helps us reach more people and spread the message of impactful leadership and positive cultural change. Don't forget to visit cultureofgood.com to explore how you can become a certified culture champion.
Every week, we're here to bring you insights and strategies that matter. So join us again for more empowering discussions. Let's continue to champion a culture of purpose and passion together.
Until next time, keep leading with heart and let's make a positive difference in the world. And we'll see you next week on Champion Your Culture.